5 Best Budget Graphic Cards in 2022. If you are looking for the best budget graphic cards in 2022, then you are at right place there. Watch this video till end and subscribe to the channel. We have also put links to products in the description. Make sure you have viewed it once. Let's start the video. Number 1. AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT. As far as budget graphics cards go, you really can't go wrong with the AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT. It might not be able to put out the kind of 1440 performance that even the RX 5700 XT was able to, but for 1008 performance, you can easily get solid frame rates on max settings for your favorite games. And while it does feature ray tracing, even at 1008 ray tracing will absolutely tank any graphics card's performance. Thankfully, with AMD hardware-driven Radeon Super Resolution, you should now be able to get playable frame rates at 1008 even with ray tracing turned on. And AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution built into many games will offer even better performance still. This is still an objectively expensive card, seeing as its starting retail price is $380/PS $329/EU for $199. But, at this point, this is the best graphics card by value among this generation of cards that you're going to find that is actually worth buying. Number 2. GeForce RTX 3050. The Nvidia GeForce RTX 3050 is one of the few Nvidia graphics cards from the Ampere era that is anything close to being considered a budget graphics card, and for what it is, it's a solid choice for 1008 gaming. It also comes with a lot of features that AMD cards simply don't have, like machine learning-enabled deep learning super sampling, DLSS technology, and tensor cores to not just play games at fast frame rates, but also to handle creative workloads that even the best AMD graphics cards will stumble over. Still, it's expensive for an Nvidia XX50 series card, with the GTX 1050 and GTX 1650 launching for nearly half the price of the RTX 3050. Such is the state of the industry though, and with graphics card price inflation being what it is, this is probably the lowest price you'll pay for a graphics card with this kind of performance and advanced features. The Nvidia GeForce RTX 3050 arrives at the perfect time, maybe even a little late, as the best graphics cards keep getting more and more expensive, and because GPU keeps selling out, even the few that are reasonably priced haven't exactly been worth the price tag. Just look at the AMD Radeon RX 6500 XT. However, with the RTX 3050, you're not getting much slower performance than the next up Nvidia's lineup, the RTX 3060. The RTX 3050 has no problem hitting 60 FPS in any 1008 game you throw at it, though it might start to struggle in the most demanding games of the generation. Think Cyberpunk 2077. Number 3. Radeon RX 6600. The AMD Radeon RX 6600 isn't that far behind the RX 6600 XT when it comes to performance, but this slimmed-down version of the Navi 23 GPU is a much more appealing option for a dedicated capital B budget build, featuring some very respectable 1008 performance and support for features like AMD Radeon Super Resolution. This card can easily play the best PC games at 1008 with frame rates north of 30 FPS, if not closer to 60 FPS on some medium lift games, on high or maximum settings. All the while, this graphics card is a good bit cheaper than AMD XT variant. So if you're looking to get the best performance at the lowest price, with an emphasis on price, then this is the card you need to be considering. The AMD Radeon RX 6600 arrives in a weird time for graphics cards. Both AMD and Nvidia have released some of their best products in a decade, but with a global silicon shortage it's almost impossible to get your hands on anything at a reasonable markup, let alone the price that the manufacturer actually intended. It's left us wanting for budget-level graphics card that more people can actually afford and get into their systems, especially folks that have older cards like the GTX 1060, which is still the most popular GPU in the world. But until AMD actually launches the card, we won't know how stock levels are going to hold up, and how long it'll be before more than, 5 people can get the graphics card at its $329. Around PS $250/EU for $150 MSRP. Number 4. Radeon RX 5700. When it comes to budget AMD graphics cards, the Radeon RX 5700 is about as good as it gets, capable of delivering 1440 gaming on ultra or max settings. you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better mid-range graphics card at this price point. Some sacrifices had to be made for affordability, however, and it is just barely affordable. The Radeon RX 5700 doesn't come with ray tracing, so the budget-minded will have to wait a little while longer before that feature makes it into even the best cheap graphics cards on the market. Maybe next year, the best graphics card, in our minds, will offer excellent performance at a price point that makes sense. You can pack in all the features in the world, but without that critical price-to-performance ratio, everything else falls apart. Luckily, the AMD Radeon RX 5700 adheres to this, delivering respectable performance at a great price point. With this graphics card, you'll be able to play all the best PC games at 1440p, even with all the settings turned on. And the fact that the AMD Radeon RX 5700 brings about 2 GB more VRAM than the Nvidia GeForce RTX 2060 at the same price point makes the value proposition even juicier. Number 5. Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super. Replacing the Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660. The Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super is absolutely one of the best cheap graphics cards on the market right now. It is able to crank out nearly 80 FPS on Middle-earth, Shadow War on ultra graphic settings at 1008p, and even managing a decent 54 FPS at 1440p. This is incredible considering it comes in at under $250, PS $200, a U for $100. Still, the Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super does have its drawbacks. It still goes with a DVI port in lieu of a second HDMI port, or even a USB-C, and while it does have a display port, you won't be running several displays with this card. It also lacks ray tracing cores, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find another graphics card that's as good as the Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super for the price. The Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super is a fantastic card for budget gamers. It builds on the GeForce GTX 1660 to take the power up a notch, yet it offers that boost in performance while still staying in the budget range for graphics card that makes a card like this so attractive. Essentially, you don't have to spend much more for that extra bit of performance. Finding that sweet spot of solid 1008p gaming for a reasonable price is not the easiest task for budget gamers. Most of the GPU available these days are just too pricey. That's where the Nvidia GeForce GTX 1660 Super comes in. With its improved speed and video memory compared to the original 1660, it's the perfect card for anyone building or taking their budget gaming PC to the next level. Since the GTX 1660 Super stands somewhere between the GTX 1660 and GTX 1660 Ti in terms of performance and price. So, hope you enjoyed our video and subscribe to the channel. We have also put links to description, make sure you have check it out. We will be right there in next video. Take care, bye.